Hey, I'm your Wegener and welcome back to the Early Bird Photo News. Imagine dropping your lens, snapping it in half, and then discovering nobody can repair it. That is exactly what's happening to some older telephoto lenses right now. The reason I bring this up is because I saw a Facebook post from a photographer who learned this the hard way. It immediately caught my attention because it's almost the exact same thing that happened to a friend of mine a few years ago. My friend and I were photographing striped honeyeaters when suddenly one of his tripod legs gave way, the whole setup tipped over and his 500 f4 version 1 snapped in half. At the time it felt like a complete disaster, but surprisingly in the end the outcome wasn't nearly as bad as we expected. He simply sent the lens to Canon, they repaired it, and the total repairable I think was less than 600 Aussie dollars. Fast forward to today and things have changed dramatically. Because what was an easy fix in the past has now become an almost impossible repair. Because Canon no longer supports the 500mm version 1 lens, so spare parts are almost impossible to come by, and so far it seems like the photographer on Facebook has not been able to find anyone who could fix the broken lens. And that's something to keep in mind when you're shopping for older used lenses. It's very tempting to find a high-end telephoto lens at a much lower price point and the image quality is still amazing. But it comes with the real risk of not being able to repair the lens in case of an accident. Now I don't think it's very likely that your lens is just gonna snap in half, but I've seen 3 or 4 version 1 500mm lenses where this has happened after they've fallen down. The timing of this Facebook post was actually pretty good because Canon has also recently released their latest end of service life list. For wildlife photographers, the biggest takeaway is that since mid-2025 the 400 and 600mm version 2 big prime lenses are no longer supported. They are still outstanding lenses optically, but repair options will become more limited going forward. On the camera side, things aren't as dramatic. Most major cameras are still supported for a few years to come, although popular bodies like the 7D Mark II and the 1DX Mark II are edging closer to the end of their service life. So whenever you're thinking about buying used gear, it might be a good idea to look at this list to make sure that what you're planning to buy is not right at the end or already out of its service life. Speaking of camera gear, many of you should have received their Sony a7R6 bodies by now, and so I would love to hear in the comments how you're liking the camera. How do you rate the autofocusing performance and what do you think about the high ISO capabilities? Now that Photoshop and Lightroom support all RAW formats, it's great to see that the noise reduction actually cleans up the files pretty well. And if you're looking to get the most out of your a7R6, I've just released my brand new setup guide. It walks you through all the settings I use and tweak and also includes my setup file that lets you install all my settings with just one click. You will find that linked below alongside my other Sony, Nikon and Canon setup guides. Since we're already talking about lenses, there's one big question that keeps coming up. Is Canon falling behind in the wildlife lens space? I touched on that topic in my recent podcast video with Dwight and many of you guys seem to agree. Sony recently added another strong option with 100 to 400 f4.5, and when you look at the overall lineup, both Sony and Nikon now have a solid range of relatively affordable, high-quality mid-range telephoto lenses that cover most wildlife scenarios. Canon, in comparison, feels more restricted. They're basically just 2 suitable options in that mid-range, the great 100 to 500 and the 200 to 800. Both are excellent lenses, but they overlap quite a bit in use. There isn't really a clear middle ground that fills the gap between those 2 lenses and the big expensive lenses like the 100 to 300 or the big primes. And because Canon also doesn't allow autofocusing third-party lenses in that range, the gap feels even more noticeable. There have been rumors floating around for a while that Canon is working to make a lens in that range like a 200 to 500 or 300 to 600, and Canon rumors actually thinks that a lens like this will definitely come. We just don't know when that time will actually arrive. I think most of us really can't wait for a lens like this to actually come to market. Because right now, Canon's bodies are arguably amongst the best on the market. Especially subject detection of smaller and hard to find subjects is second to none. That's probably the main reason that I shoot Canon so much, because in certain situations it gives me a real edge in the field. So I'm curious to know what would be the ideal Canon mid-range wildlife lens to match with their great bodies. Are you leaning towards an interesting zoom lens, maybe like a 300 to 600, or would you actually prefer a smaller, lighter prime lens like Nikon's 600pf or Sony's awesome 2.8 300mm lens? Let me know down there in the comments. Right now it looks like Canon's next round of announcement could come in late August. We're likely going to get an R8 Mark II with the R6 Mark III sensor, possibly in a retro style body, and 2 lenses with designs that we've never seen before. Whether any of those two lenses turns out to be the dedicated wildlife lens we've been waiting for remains to be seen, but let's hope so. Are your images softer than what they should be? Is your autofocus missing the target? Or do your edits just never quite turn out the way you wanted? That usually comes down to two things: camera settings and editing skills. I cover exactly how to set up your camera properly in my Canon, Nikon and Sony setup guides linked below. But taking great RAW files is only the first step. You also need to know how to transform them into final images you can be proud of and share with the world. And to help you to achieve outstanding results fast, I developed my next generation Photoshop and Lightroom masterclasses. In the classes, you will learn my easy-to-follow step-by-step workflow, teaching you the tools and techniques that actually make a difference and fast-track your results. But of course, you won't just be watching, because I'm also providing you with my own RAW files so you can edit right alongside me. Whether you're just starting out or already an experienced photographer, my masterclasses are designed to elevate your results immediately and turn editing from a frustrating chore into an enjoyable experience. And if you're unsure if my guides and masterclasses truly make a difference, check out the hundreds of reviews from happy students who have used them to dial in their camera settings, transform the editing, and get great results they're truly proud of. So if you finally want to master image editing and get the best possible performance from your own camera, my setup guides and masterclasses are linked for you down below. I know they will help you a lot. I know a lot of you have been wondering what's happening to the R7 Mark II, but we have no news other than that it seems increasingly likely that it's not going to come this year. What could be nothing or an interesting coincidence is that the end of service life for the popular 7D Mark II is in January 2027. So maybe Canon is thinking we're stopping support for one APS-C camera and then release the updated R7 Mark II. We've also seen more details on Nikon's upcoming 120-300 2.8T lens, and it seems to be quite a piece of glass. Nikon rumors shared an interesting comparison to the 400mm TC lens, and it's not far off in size. It definitely looks like a great lens with amazing flexibility that will likely come with quite a big price tag and maybe a little bit heavier and bigger than I thought or would have hoped. Either way though, I'm really looking forward to hopefully trying out that lens very soon and sharing my results with you. Last week I finally got around to ordering a bunch of prints as well, a few acrylic ones, a few on paper and also a canvas one. One of them is actually a fairly heavy crop that I'm going to print very large, so I'm really curious to see how that's going to hold up and what that will mean for the never-ending megapixel debate. And of course I'll share the results with you in another video. And that brings me to something that got me thinking this week. I needed a quick head and shoulder portrait of me facing the camera with a clean background. The problem was I had nothing suitable, it was the middle of the night and I didn't want to set up to take an image. So I tried something a little bit crazy and completely different. I grabbed a few screenshots from my recent YouTube videos, uploaded them into ChatGPT, asked it to generate a portrait, and within seconds I had a surprisingly usable result. Now, I look a little bit more muscly than in real life, but I didn't really mind. I'll be honest, I'm a bit conflicted about it though. As photographers, we value real images, real light, real moments, real intent. And generating a photo of myself like that definitely felt strange. But at the same time, it solved a real problem instantly and didn't really mislead anyone. I'm not faking a bird in a location that I've never visited or passing off something artificial as real wildlife photography. I don't think AI can replace or even threaten what we value in true photography, like experience the moments in the field, chasing our subjects, working with the conditions. But at the same time, if you just need a quick functional shot, it's hard to ignore how useful it can be. And maybe the real question isn't whether AI will actually replace photography, but where the line between the two actually sits. I can mainly accept its use in areas where you'd usually do substantial editing anyways, like a YouTube cover for instance. What do you think of the crazy new AI world? Would you use it to create portraits of you in all kind of different scenes, or is that going too far already? Let me know down there in the comments. And on that note, it's time to wrap up today's early bird photo news. If you need help with your photography, check out my setup guides and masterclasses linked below. I also appreciate if you hit that like and subscribe button, that helps the channel more than you think. And I'm also looking forward to reading all your comments, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!